What's going on, everyone? For some unknown reason, the camera's not working at the moment. So we are trying to figure out the technical difficulties right here already. Mike Lee says, good evening, Tim and fellow cult members. Make sure you smash that like button. We are working on our camera issues as we speak. I got no clue what's going on with the camera. For some reason, the thing is not taking the camera. I don't know why it's not taking the camera. I got no idea whatsoever. So we're trying to figure out here what's going on. This is just like the New York Football Giants. Things work, things don't work. So hope everyone can still hear me. Hopefully we'll have some people on the show maybe because they can then take us through this and we can have some camera work going on. But hey, I like it. You know what? You don't need to see anything because I'm just awesome. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you do all that. Oh, we want to talk about the New York Giants. We want to talk about all the crap that is going on. We want to talk about Shane Bowen. Did a little research on Shane Bowen. Mike Lee says it would be like Joe to trade for Bryce Young. Hope it only is stupid rumors. At least that's what I think it is. It doesn't make sense to me. But then again, neither does the Brian Bones trade.
Submitted for your approval. The Ghost Brothers. Nobody needs to be afraid.
You never need to be afraid when the Ghost Brothers are out. That, of course, is the likes of Kayvon Thibodeau and all those wonderful people, and Brian Bones. They're not going for Bryce Young. Whoever had the lunacy and the idiocy in reference to this whole Bryce Young thing, I don't know what else to tell you, man. I really don't know what to tell you. I don't really know what's going on here. Hold on, maybe I can start the camera again. Let's see here. I'll go to settings. If I go to settings and I go to camera and I go to this camera, let's see what that does. No, for some reason, the camera today is not being accepted by whatever the hell this thing is freaking called. What is this called by StreamYard? It's not being accepted. It's not taking it. I don't know what else to do. You'll just have, like Mike Lee, we got T-Brad in his house saying, hey, Tim, I just got here to do the Giants. Still suck. Of course they still suck. That's the problem we have. T-Brad says, but the like button, it's a thumbs up. It's a thumbs up button. All right, Mike. All right, T-Brad. Hit the freaking like button. Hit the thumbs up button. Mike Lee says, the internet can't handle your handsome face, Tim. I think that's what it is. I think the internet is against me, just like the New York Giants. I think this is John Mara coming after me, saying, you know what? He's so melodious that you just need to hear his voice. I'm going to put, sorry, camera. I don't know why this camera's not working. Camera is not working. I'm going to put that out so people will say, why isn't he on camera? Is he afraid? I'm still working on trying to get this camera fixed. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Big Jack, Mr. Damien Jack said, what's up, Tim? Everything's going good. Joe Rev says, try turning it on and turning it off. Joe Rev in tech support here is telling me what to do. He's telling me to turn it in and turn it off. Yeah, Joe Rev, I think I've tried that a few hundred times. For some reason, it's not recognizing the camera. I don't know why. I've also turned off the computer and turned on the computer again. I go to InstaLink, FaceTime camera. It just doesn't want to work. The other camera works, but then the audio doesn't work. So the question is, would you rather have bad audio or bad camera work? That's the big question here. Or maybe I need to update the browser. Oh, we got Dingleberry Sports saying, yo. Alex says, I lost a lot of respect for Eli Manning. Dude just blindly believes Daniel Jones and the Giants had with no facts. Listen, Eli Manning has finally, he got the call from the Hall. Well, he got the call to be on the ballot for the Hall of Fame. But he didn't get the call for the Hall of Fame yet. He's on the ballot with 106,478 players at the moment. You wish Eli Manning luck. I don't think he is going to get in this first time. I really don't. I wish I said, I wish I was thinking that he could, but I just don't see it. If I pull that one out, that's going to turn the sound bar off. So what if I pull this one out? All right. You know what? Everyone amuse yourselves for a second because I got around the other side of the computer. Someone sing a song. Where do you go, my lovely? I want to know. I'm going to get this camera to work. And if I can, we'll have no camera today. I think. Oh, wait a minute. It's blue and it's spinning. Yo, says Mr. Emmanuel. What's going on, Emmanuel? What's going on, everyone? Hold on. We're gonna try this, but I think the camera might be working. Hold on. No, it's not recognizing it at all. What the hell? Why is this not working? I've tried everything now. I've used all my tech skills. I've plugged it in, I've unplugged it, and I plugged it back in again. But for some reason, the gimbal's working, but the rest of the camera's not working. This is just like the New York Giants defense. Let's talk about Shane Bowen and the defense just for a second, though. I want to chat about that for a second. Shane Bowen came in here. Of course, we talked about the fact that he lacks the defense. I think he lacks the defensive continuity to be a full-time defensive coordinator. I really do. I just don't think he has the ability to fill that position. And like I said, he's only 37 years old, so there's going to be some times and some opportunity where he's going to have his chance. And I think that chance is coming soon, because I don't know what's going on with his defense. But I was looking at the Tennessee Titans defense. Tennessee Titans defense right now is ranked number 1 in the NFL. Last year, they were 17th under Bowen. The 2023 Giant defense under Wink Martindale was 27th. Right now, with Shane Bowen, they're ranked 26th. I know it's early on, and it really means nothing. But I think at this point in time, we have to take a look at these things. We have to get this idea. We got to get this understanding that maybe it's just not working. Maybe something. Oh, there we go. Wait a minute. There we go. Screw you, internet. Johnny Handsome's back. Hey, yo. I'm back. Don't you love it when I call you Bob Papa? Throw your hands in the air if you're a true homer. Don't you love it when I call you Big Papa? Oh, well, we shouldn't be talking about anything that has anything to do with P. Diddy. Skyline says, hey, Tim, 2 down, 15 more to go. I think that's what I laugh about. I jokingly talked to James Williams, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday, James. And I jokingly talked to him about the fact that we have 15 more of these garbage games to go through. I don't think we're winning in Cleveland. I think this is the get right game for Deshaun Watson. I think he stays out of the trainer room, keeps himself out of trouble for at least a week. But I just think that I got a video coming. I'm all over the place today. I got a video coming out, I think Friday. It talks about new ownership, new quarterback, new head coach, new general manager. And it's good. It kind of delves into all of this, but what I got to go back to my Bryce Young thought. Ain't fucking happening. The idiocy of the rumors that you see on Twitter from Giant Nation, it's just dumbfounding. It befuddles me. We're getting Bryce Young. We're going to go. I love it because he's failing miserably right now as a first overall pick. He's failing miserably. But the Giants are going to trade a 2nd round pick for him. And the Carolina Panthers, who are going with the red rifle, Red Room, are going to trade him to the Giants because, Dan Morgan and Joe Shane are best buds, because of the fact that even though you're benching the kid, they're just going to totally give up on him. And it's sometimes I think that people don't watch football because of the fact that this is a simple rationale. The camera is working. What stupid idiot saying that? This is simple rationale. Rookie quarterbacks get benched. 2nd-year quarterbacks get benched. It's okay. It happens. Some of the best quarterbacks in the league have gotten benched early on in their career. They're not giving up on Bryce Young, and they're not all of a sudden just going to turn around and say, hey, Joe Shane, give me something for this guy. Joe Shane will probably look at him and go, what about Brian Burns? Mr. Weaver, Dable's face doesn't show the grit, the excitement he had in 2022. There's no emotion on his face. It's like he just doesn't care anymore. Here's the problem. I love the T. I was reading the T-Brad comment. Here's the problem with that. I listen. You started 7-2. You are now, since that 7-2 run, you are now 8-19-1. You were lucky to start 7-2 because we got the missed field goal right off the bat in Tennessee. We got those 2 penalties. Those 2 in Jacksonville. We had 2 penalties against Jacksonville and Daniel Jones interceptions that got called back, which weren't penalties. And then they get stopped on the 1 yard line. There's a plethora of games we can go through. So and now that Dable's taken over the play calling, he was supposed to be the boy wonder, he's supposed to be the boy genius, but just isn't working. You have the 8th best line right now with pass protection, and you can't beat the Washington Commanders. You score 18 points. There is something very wrong here. T-Brad says, Tim, your camera's working. You just look like Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau's pass rush. Mr. Emmanuel, yo. Mike Lee says, doubt Eli's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's just towing the Giants line, a.k.a. Carl Banks. Eli's getting in. He's in the top 20 of all passing records in NFL history. He's got 2 Super Bowls. He's got 2 Super Bowl MVPs. People will talk about his 500 record. People forget Joe Namath has a losing record. People forget you got the likes of Kenny Stabler that got in a couple years back. I mean, you have these guys that are quarterbacks that Troy Aikman got in. Eli's got better stats than Troy, and Eli was not part of a dynasty like Troy was. So Eli's going to get in. He may potentially I don't think he'll get in as a first ballot, but my wife said he's not getting in first ballot. But I do think that he's going to get in. I don't know if he's going to get in now, but I do think he's going to get in soon. The narrative that Bryce Young is a bust is crazy. Went about DJ 6 years of all this bullshit. The coaches, GMs trade away all the playmakers. It might have to be him. It's the owner's imagination. That's the other thing. Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Giant fans want to go after Bryce Young, even though in their mind he's a failure because he got benched in year 2, which happens to sophomore quarterbacks. But we have been stuck with Daniel Jones for 6 years now, and he should have been benched quite a bit. But we have a segment of the fans that still believe he's going to be something, even though it's year 6. But they think Bryce Young is full of dookie, but for some unknown reason, they want to trade to him to replace the quarterback they're in love with, who is in year 6 and still isn't doing anything special. I got to think about that one for a minute, because that one's lunacy at its best. T-Brad says, don't worry, all the coaches and the managers will be gone by the end of the year. I do agree. Manuel says we don't have the talent still. That's the problem. If you look at this roster from a objective standpoint, not a subjective standpoint, you look from an objective standpoint, you view what's going on right now. You see the talent. We've gone through this before. We've said there might be 3 guys out of 22 in reference to starters that could start for a top 10 team that are on the Giants right now. You have all these guys making low-end contracts, veteran minimums. You got 4th and 5th round picks that you are relying on to play, and then you're shocked when things don't go well. I said it the other day. Judge got himself fired. Joe Judge was coming back for year 3. It was his idiocy and his stupidity and the statements that he made that got him fired. Do I think Brian Dable's doing the same thing? No, I don't. I just think that he is not happy with the situation he is in. I don't think he's happy with the quarterback that he has. I don't think he's happy with the team that's been built around this quarterback. And I don't think that he has the wherewithal to sit there and say to Joe Shane, hey, listen, we got to make changes. We have to do things different. Be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. But we're never bold. We make trades that at times just don't make any sense, like the Brian Burns trade, because we've mentioned this before. Brian Burns is probably going to be towards the end of his prime when we sit there, and if we're ever good again, he's probably going to be at the end. He's probably going to be at the end of his rope for his professional career. But we went out and gave him $120 million to come on this team and not produce any sacks. I don't know. Emmanuel says, what does Emmanuel say? It's been 3 years and the roster doesn't look any better. Nope. Happy birthday, James. Alex says 0-17. I'm hoping for it. Panthers, Giants could determine who gets the number 1 overall pick. Oh, I don't want to be Panthers, Giants. I don't want the Panthers to get the first pick and then it'd be like on the Giants with the second pick, because then I got to hear how we got to trade up to the first pick or we need to trade for Bryce Young. I don't want to hear that. I would literally not be able to handle it. The stupidity of the Giant fans sitting there and saying, we have to get Bryce Young. We should go over and make this move. Ripley said it best. Did IQ sharply drop since I've been gone? Oh my God. What did Jared have to say? It's just something for ditzy Giant fans to chat about. I don't go into the Giant spaces. Every once in a while I do. Every once in a while I'll go into the Giant Twitter spaces. But every time I go in there, they say that we're toxic. They say that we're that we're negative. I'm gonna tell you something. These spaces, man. I did a poll a couple of weeks ago on one of the live streams, said, should we do a Twitter space? And people are like, no. I'm like, okay. And I looked at it and I'm saying, they're just toxic. What's up, Massey? What's up, Massey? What's going on? Hey, Tim, is Sean McDermott a good coach? Media doesn't like him. Dable mad. Chargers job open when he was already had a Giants job. Herbert's greater than DJ. You know what's funny about I think that Dable wanted the Chargers job. I do. I 100% think he wanted the Chargers job. And the Chargers hired a head coach, if I remember correctly, before the Giants did. And I think he knew and understood that they have a quarterback in California with the Chargers. And I think he knew he could work with that system. And do I think Sean McDermott's a good coach? You know, it's one of those weird things. He kind of he bounced around for a while. He spent most of his time in Philadelphia. So I'm not going to say he bounced around, but he bounced around position-wise. It was Philadelphia. He was the assistant head coach. He was the defensive assistant quality control coach. He was the assistant defensive backs coach. He was the defensive backs coach. He was the linebackers coach. He was the defensive coordinator and defensive back coach. But then he finally went to the Panthers for 5 years, where he was the defensive coordinator before he got the job with the Bills in 2017. He's got a 73-41 record. He's got a 5-6 playoff record. I think the issue with him is he's anyone that gets the Dallas job. They just can't win in the playoffs. They just can't. I think he is a good in-season coach, but you have had plenty of coaches that, that flamed out in the playoffs and then 1 year had that magical run. I do think in some regards, I thought that Shane was kind of waiting for him to get fired. I really do think that. And he never did. So I'm going to get back to the other ones, but I want to get to the big dog right here. Those spaces are vicious. I sat on some of those spaces and I'm just like, ooh. And I think maybe it's because even though you can hear someone's voice, you can't see them. And I think James Williams, whose birthday it is, like we mentioned before, is a great analogy for this, because James, when you see him come on the show, and I think a lot of people do that are on this channel, that picture you see of James is James, and that is his name, James Williams. It's not a pseudonym. I don't need no Tylenol. I need some Sudafed. But that's him, and that's his name, because he says, if I'm going to say something, I'm going to put my face and my name to it. And I think a lot of these people in the spaces, even though they're on the mic, but you don't know, you can't see them, you don't know who you are. And I've said it before millions of times. Everyone's a tough guy, and everyone's a tough guy till you get punched in the face, and then it all goes downhill from there. So I mean, I that's why I kind of don't like it, because it's like they say that we're negative here, but we're just talking sports. So. Let's see. Let's give him. Mike Lee says he is benched. You mean you can do that? No, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to bench your quarterback. What the hell are they thinking in Carolina? Mango says we need to realize that Shane didn't have any replicant. What Delman? We need to realize that Shane didn't. I'm going to come back to that. I'm sick of it. Yes, he didn't replicate what Kettleman did. He's sick of it. He's sick of it twice. Jane and Drone says we suck. Greg Joseph sign is good, although we didn't sign it prior to the Washington game. You know your kicker's hurt. You know your kicker's old. 37. That's not old. Or whatever he is. And you know what? Friday. So you have time to go out and get a kicker and put him on the roster. You do. You got time. And you decide not to carry another kicker. That's lunacy and idiocy wrapped up all into one. Pimp name Slicksback says Dable is supposed to be the wonder boy. Like, look at Andy Reid. He joins a new team and can turn on the average quarterback into competent. Matt LaFleur is another good example, or Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur is like one of my new favorite head coaches. I've watched Green Bay's games before. I watched Jordan Love games. You saw how he took Jordan Love and made him into something beyond special. And like I said, the game plan against the Colts last week, even though it was Malik Willis, everyone knows what I feel about Malik, was just phenomenal. It was literally a phenomenal game plan. You only let the kid throw 14 times, but he's 12 for 14 for 121 and a touchdown, another 40 yards rushing. And the two passes were drops. It was a beautifully executed game plan. And same thing with Kyle Shanahan. They just grab guys and make them into players. Mr. Bruce says, I'm a diehard fan since 1996. I personally don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame. And if the Panthers are willing to trade a fourth for Bryce Young, then make the trade. No. I love you, man. Mr. Bruce, I love you. I have you on because I must love you. No, I can't. And he's being serious. And he goes, I'm being serious. No. Eli is a Hall of Famer. Eli 100%. Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? Probably not. Maybe in this class. I think he's got a good opportunity in this class to be a Hall of Famer. But you take a look at Eli Manning, 57,000 yards, 366 touchdowns. People are going to harp on the 244 interceptions. But the problem is this, those interceptions, if you look at the people that are ahead of Eli Manning in the passing rankings and reference interceptions, most of them are Hall of Famers. Hold on, I'm trying to pull up the all-time passing leaders here. So I'm gonna prove my point to Mr. Bruce right now here. So where does Eli Manning rank in total yards in reference to passing? He is 10th right now in the league. I think that's pretty good to be 10th in the entire league. I mean, if you take a look at that, where is Eli Manning? Where is Eli Manning in reference to touchdown passes? I don't know. You figure they would have a sheet all over the place. So let's see. Eli Manning is 10th in the all-time touchdowns. Where is he? Eli Manning at passing attempts all time. He is 9th. Where's Eli Manning? Because this is where people always talk about his accuracy issues. Where is Eli Manning in reference to passes completed? He's 10th. So Eli Manning right now is in the top 10 of almost all NFL passing categories. And he has 2 Super Bowl rings. Now, people are going to always say, what about for him in reference to interceptions? You would think that he would be higher up on the list. He's 12th. But you know who's above him? Y.A. Tittle, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, Johnny Unitas, Norm Snead, Fran Tarkenton, Vinny Testaverde, Brett Favre, George Blanda. Not a bad group to be a part of. Hey, T-Brad says, hey, we play the Carolina Panthers, so we do have a chance for a victory. I don't know. I don't know. Is Andy Dalton playing? Who's playing? That's going to be my question, T-Brad. Who is playing that we have a chance? Because their defense is not horrid.
Telling me there's a chance. Yeah!
There's always a chance. The Waller trade failed spectacularly. Yeah, it did. And so did the Paris Campbell signing. And so did a lot of his other signings and a lot of other people he's brought in. So, I mean, I just don't see it. Mike Lee says, think Dable. Thankful to Joe for hiring him, and that is why he's not speaking up. I think there could be something to that as well. Mike Lee says, happy birthday, James Williams. Pip Name Slickbag says, Brian Burns complained about the team is hilarious. He's a big part of the reason why we suck. Brian Burns did come out and says, we don't have intensity. We have to be more. We have to do more. You don't have a sack yet. You don't have a quarterback hit yet. It's been 2 games. You haven't done anything, Spider-Man. I honestly think that the web shooters fell off his wrists and they fell on the bridge. Spider-Man did. Do you run out of webs? But I thought they're auto-generated. Here's the thing that's going to be funny. He's going to get a sack. Or Kayvon's going to get a sack. And you are going to see them dance like no belief, like they already have 20 sacks. Not that they've gone 2 straight games with nothing. 0, nada. And you're going to be like, oh, they're going to be like, and you're going to look at it, and I'm going to look at them like, you motherfucker and idiots. You don't have it. You haven't done anything. And now you got your first sack in game 3, and I'm supposed to be impressed. Color me not. Alex says, I'm pessimistic by nature. The Giants give me no reason to change that. I mean, I can't, I think the video that I got coming out in a day or two, I think it's going to give you a better perspective, Alex. I really do. And I'm very excited about this video. I just finished cutting it yesterday. It's actually a Mint Mobile sponsored video. So I'm just waiting to get approved by the brand. So as soon as that gets approved, we will have that out. But I'm actually very excited about this video. And it's funny though, because I don't even remember the name of it. I don't remember the name of it, but I'm very excited about it. Diet Go says, real talk, I'm still holding out hope for some Daves, but Shane lost my faith for how poor the roster still is. Cannot open up the playbook for mid-talent. There have been plenty of teams, though, Diet Goes. Real talk. I'll give you real talk. There's been plenty of teams that have had mid-level talent at the skilled position and the offensive line, had a good quarterback and succeeded. There's a lot of them. You could look at the early days of Tom Brady. I mean, what you throw in the Jabbar Gaffney, throw the David Patton. I mean, there's so many things that I got. James Williams is literally calling me while we're on the stream. See, James is calling me as we're on the stream. I'm gonna have to decline that call and say, James, we're on the stream. He should come on. We are streaming. Where is James? I'm going to try to get him on his birthday here. Let's see here. Streaming, James. Hold on. Everyone, let's give him something to talk about. Streaming at the moment. Want to come on. That's what she said. All right, here. But that's real talk. The problem is there's been plenty of teams in the NFL, in the Annals of NFL history who've had bad offenses and have had bad offensive line, had bad running games, have bad wide receivers, have good quarterbacks, and they still succeed. You won with Matt LaFleur. Not that I'm bashing Malik. He won a game at home with Malik Willis and made him look beyond. And they're already talking in Green Bay. They found their answer for a backup with Jordan Love in one game. Dable has now had going on. This is his 3rd season. James Stein says, here is why we're going to go 0-17 this year. One coach suck. Management is trash. Most of the players are not capable of playing in the NFL. I'm gonna be Mr. Positive today, and I'm gonna argue that. I'm gonna argue that as Mr. Positivity. You're right. Isaiah says, Tim, would Mike Vrabel be? No, I don't want Mike Vrabel. Do not want Mike Vrabel as a head coach. Mike Vrabel, what happened at the end with Tennessee was not a good look. That's why he did not get a coaching job. Was not a good look the way his exit out of Tennessee. And he's very, very set in his, like Shane is set in his ways in reference to talent evaluation. Vrabel is the same way with his coaching. And then he puts players in the doghouse and they never get out. And he treats players, and he's mismanaged so many game scenarios and situations. I do not want Mike Vrabel on this team as anything. I don't even want him to have tickets. Manuel says, I'll say it. We are worse than the Jets, but at least the Jets keep trying to get it right. The Jets just roll on the quarterbacks. They just roll on the quarterbacks. They try different ones. We're on Brett. Oh, no, we're on Brett Favre. We're on Aaron Rodgers. Went through Zach Wilson, went through Sam Darnold. And while they're going on their third quarterback, we're still on Daniel Jones. I'm just not happy about that. That's one. Mr. Reaver says, come on, Tim. Let's admit it. Dable wanted Jaden Daniels. Ben McAdoo wanted Mahomes. Who's saying no to these quarterbacks? Mara? I actually do think it's Joe Shane that's saying no to these quarterbacks. Because if you don't want to take a quarterback in the first round, I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. But there's 6 other rounds. You have been here. You've had 3 drafts as a general manager. You have taken no quarterbacks, none. You haven't taken a flyer on anyone that has immense talent, maybe has some issues. Hell, I'm not a big Spencer Rattler fan, but I even said if you want to take him with a 6, I'd be okay with it. I told people I would take Joe Milton. Bring in Sam Hartman. But I can't. You're never going to get a hit if you don't take the bat off your shoulder. You got to swing. And for him to make the stupid comment to Ryan Poles, well, you can't be, I'm tired of looking at quarterbacks. Well, you know what? If you draft one, you don't have to look at him anymore. I think it's shame. I really do. And I think maybe why there is such a disconnect with him and Brian Dable at times, or maybe the way Brian Dable looks disconnected on the field, is he's just kind of done. I kind of think he's reached his point where he's like, I'm stuck with this shit. Dable's got to worry if this keeps going on, if he's going to get a head coaching job again for a long time. The doo-doo didn't get one. Shermer didn't get one. Judge isn't going to get one. There are plenty of coaches that flamed out badly their first seasons that took them 10, 15 years to get another opportunity. I think Dable's thing is he sees this opportunity passing him by, and there's nothing he can do about it because it's the cards that he's dealt. Jim Fossil went to the Super Bowl, lost, of course, to Baltimore. Didn't he, outside of the UFL, didn't sniff ever get another coaching job before he passed away. And this is a guy that took a team to the Super Bowl. This is a guy that was liked. This is a guy that made the famous thing, I'm putting all my chips into the middle of the table. And he did not get a second opportunity. I mean, he flamed out as an offensive coordinator, but he didn't get a second opportunity. And you got to feel bad for that situation. But, how it ended his last years in New York caused him not to get that opportunity. So I think Dable sees his opportunity going by. He sees the train passing. But at the problem, there's nothing he can do about it. There's literally nothing that he can do about it that's going to make the situation better. I'm trying to find my chips in the middle of the table, but I can't find it. Here we go.
I'm raising the stakes right now. This is a poker game. I'm shoving my chips to the middle of the table. I'm raising the ante. Anybody wants in, get in. Anybody wants out, can get out.
He put his chips to the middle of the table. He did everything that he could possibly do, and he never got that opportunity. So that's why I personally think that Brian Dable sees this opportunity passing him by, knows he's got a subpar quarterback, knows he's hooked his card up to Daniel Jones, but the problem is the apple cart itself, the apples inside the cart are rotten. And he's going to be in that situation till the end. Mr. Alvarez says, also, I've seen people harping on Eli because of the Giants' win-loss record during his tenure, but it's not his fault. The Giants GM can't build a team for squad. You could blame they always say the same thing. The quarterback gets too much praise and he gets too much blame. Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. Like I said, he is in the top 10 of all passing categories. He still has 117 wins. You can bash what he's done with that, but this is also a guy that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 4,000-yard seasons, has thrown for over 20 touchdowns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times. Has thrown for 30 touchdowns 4 times. Yeah, he's led the league in interception 3 times, but he also, Kevin Gilbride made him the gunslinger, which he probably shouldn't have done. You can harp on him all you want, but Eli Manning was a warrior that played in games that meant something for this team. I've said it before in 2011, that 49ers game, I didn't think he was going to survive. He took a beating all game long and kept getting back up. At the end of the game, when he threw that touchdown, he's got his helmet at one point turned sideways, picking grass out of his head. He's looking out the ear hole, but he kept getting up. I thought we had a chance for 4 wins. I still think we got 4 to 6 wins. I still do think that. Zach Attack says Andy Dalton is the starter for the rest of the season. Is he starter for the rest of the season, or is he just, are they saying that he's a starter for the rest of the season? I'm just curious. Or are they just saying he's the starter for the rest of the season for now? Alex says, if you ask me, Eli isn't a first-time pilot Hall of Famer, mostly due to the second half of his career. Let's talk about the second half of his career. Let's go to 14. He's got 3. He's got, and since 14 to 19, 4 4,000-yard seasons, 2 seasons with over 30 touchdown passes, 4 seasons with over 20. Averaged about a 65% completion percentage. Went 6 and 10, 6 and 10, 11 and 5, 13 and 12, 5 and 11, 1 and 3. I mean, the record, he was on a bad team. There are quarterbacks that are on bad teams that make Hall of Fame. Dable messed up, but Shane built this dumpster fire. Shane is the architect. There is no doubt about it. This is Shane's vision. I'm not 100% sure what the vision is, but this is Shane's vision. Because I've said this before, and I keep saying this over and over again. This is a cut and paste team. We're cutting and pasting talent that kind of doesn't go together. And we're trying to fit in a system that kind of doesn't go into. Same thing with like pairing Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns, where they're identical players with the same faults, same skills, same thing they accelerate at, but they also have the same deficiencies. Doesn't make a lot of sense. The strength of this team should be the middle of the field on the defense with Dexter Lawrence, and your ends should be pushing the traffic back into the middle of the field instead of letting them just go off tackle. But they're not good enough against the run to do things such as that. And we don't have the linebackers. And you're relying on 2 rookies in your secondary. And I like Phillips. I think Phillips had a good game. But I was going to say it again. I'm going to say it over and over again. And people don't like hearing it. What was his QBR? What was the QBR against Phillips? 98.3? Something like that? Aaron Robinson made all these tackles in preseason. And I'm not saying he's Aaron Robinson, but I'm just saying this. Aaron Robinson made all these tackles in preseason, which means he was letting the passes get completed. Your job as a defensive back is to not allow completions. Just throwing that out there. But we don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about the 12 tackles. We don't want to talk about anything else. Joe Rev says, what happens if we tie Carolina and both teams go 0-16-1? Then you go by the whole strength of schedule shit. Then you go by all the other crap that goes on with that. So we cry. We cry a little inside. Yeah, here we go, Di, because it's strength of schedule determined. And then there's another tiebreaker after that. And then there's points and so, things such as that. There are cartridges so we can run out. Perhaps he is using them against his own teammates. Mr. Bruce says, I love you, brother Tim, too. This is legit. The only one of those 2 things I disagree with you is, but a differences of opinions is always great. I have no problem. Like I said, I have no problem when people disagree with me. I have no problem whatsoever when someone disagrees with me, because you know what? That's what makes this show great. That's what makes this show fun. Watch this. Mr. Bruce, I just put the link in the chat. If you're not busy. In my opinion, I always thought Eli was just okay. Yes, he is great counting stats because he played a long time. But as a quarterback, I feel the Hall of Fame, you should only go in to be elite. My problem with that is there's so many other players that are in right now that are not elite. There's so many players that are in right now that Eli Manning has better stats, and there's so many players right now, especially in the quarterback position, who play longer than Eli Manning and are in. Brett Favre has one Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers right now has got one Super Bowl. You can talk about multiple league MVPs. There was what was the year that Cam Newton won the MVP? That they went 15-1 that year. I think actually, I've always said before, I think Eli should have won the MVP that year. But, that's okay. That's all good. What do you think of the offensive line this season so far, Tim? They've played well. Honestly, have they played the best? We've said this a million times, and I always preface this. You can only play you can only play the teams that are on your schedule. And they have played teams that I would say do not have the highest quality defensive lines. And when we played against the team first game of the season, which had an okay defensive line, they gave up 5 sacks. 3 of those were on the quarterback. So, and then Washington does not have a good defensive line. Washington does. They have good linebackers, but they do not have a good defense line. They do not have a good defensive secondary whatsoever. And we put up 18 points. I personally never thought Eli was elite, but me personally love the conversation. I love it too. Mike Lee says, good, great quarterbacks elevate. Good, great positional players rarely elevate quarterbacks. We've said this a million times before. Name me a wide receiver who has left the Giants during Eli Manning's tenure who did something else. And don't say Jeremy Shockey, because Jeremy Shockey left because he was an asshole. Well, the organization thought he was an asshole. But who has greatly succeeded after leaving the Giants? Steve Smith's still looking for a job. So is Ruben Randall. So is Ramsey Barton. Diageo says, then perhaps the only way to forward is to drop them both and pray Mara sees the light, which he won't. So Mara's not going to see the light. Mr. Alvarez says, I'm still a Malik truther. So I'm going to say he's finally get to show he isn't as bad as people were saying after people saw him for 2 games in the league. Actually, they saw him in 3 games. This was his 4th game. Malik Willis. This was his 4th start. He didn't get a fair shake in Tennessee. People are finally talking about it. I've said it before. It was interesting when he was selected in the 3rd round. Ryan Tannehill comes out and says, well, I'm not here to mentor the kid. I'm a competition. I'm not here to mentor him. The following year, they drafted Will Levis. Well, Ryan Tannehill's like, well, I'm going to mentor this kid. I'm going to teach this kid up. Talks about Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel told Malik Willis during his rookie season, 2nd preseason game, you are not allowed to leave the pocket. You are a pocket passer, which is funny because that's not his strength. And usually if you think you're going to have to play a rookie quarterback, you play to his strength. Strong out there. Mike Lee says, look who Vrabel handled Malik. It was a stroke of genius. He says, year 7 is the magic year. This magic moment. Diego says, not gonna lie, I don't think Dave's was against JJ. I think Dable wanted a quarterback. I mean, I could be totally 100% wrong, but I think he wanted a quarterback. I think he wanted to bring someone in here. And I think that the powers that be, which is Joe Shane, said no. You brought in Drew Lock, and everyone got it. What happened to the excitement with Drew Lock? There was all this excitement. What happened? Where'd that go? The fucking door, because he sucks. Mike Lee says, I wonder if Joe's home life is so bad he goes on the road to scout quarterbacks and not that he hasn't pulled the trigger. Mr. Alvarez says, Giants passed. Yeah, they passed. You know what? They passed on everybody. I'm not even going to get into who they passed on. They passed on everybody. These are quality guys you could bring in. They passed Mr. Alvarez. And I don't want to keep beating this dead horse, because you shouldn't beat a dead horse, but I just don't. I don't know. What did it cost? A 7th-round pick to get Willis? Damn. Yeah, it was a 7th-round pick. Literally. I'm not, you know what? But I've said this a million times before. I am so glad Malik Willis didn't come here. I'm so ecstatic that he did not come here. You know what I just noticed? Keep looking at the box. And I'm wondering why something bothers me about it. This is the season ticket holder gift. It's looking at the box. I was looking at the pants. Looking at the box. Looking at the pants. It's the fucking jersey with the shit color brown pants. That'd been bugging me for a little bit. Nobody won the ring, by the way. Here, I'll put it this way. Yeah, I'm gonna give some support to the because everyone says I'm negative Nelly. I'm gonna give some support to the team, man. Look at that. Gotta get support to the team. Gotta take one for the team, guys. Yeah, that's what it is. Let's see. John Merritt rather start Dan Jones for the year than draft a black quarterback with the first pick is what it is. Not saying that's not what it is. I'm not saying that it is what it is. We've talked about this a million times before. You're at your 100-year anniversary. Every team in the division has started or drafted an African-American quarterback multitudes of times. You're the only one that started Tyrod Taylor and Geno Smith in 100 years. And that was more out of stupidity and necessity. You can figure out which is which. Mr. Roberts says, give me the assistant general manager of the Giants or the Ravens as the new GM. I need someone who actually has awareness as a GM. There is a lot of, I don't want to say misconceptions about Joe Schoen because I don't think they're misconceptions. I really don't. But there's a lot of things about Joe Schoen that just makes you shake your head. Outside of Gettleman and recent history, and maybe Andy Robustelli, I've never seen a general manager misread a situation so often on everything. I really haven't. And that's the point. I'm letting our special guest get himself situated because he's making me dizzy. There he goes. Now I can see him. He's almost situated, but I've never seen a guy misread. We talked before about how we can always have differences of opinions on this show. We always have fun about it. And I always jokingly said, I'm going to bring on Jabari and tell him, hey, listen, you want to have a difference opinion? Let's talk about the difference of opinion.
What's up, Tim?
So, Mr. Bruce, you would disagree with me with the whole Eli Manning thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was a lot of fun. Moving on now, let's see. Asmi says 100 Hall of Famer, 100%.
Oh my God!
My friend,
I didn't expect that. I don't know why I didn't.
Get on now. You should have expected that.
I definitely should have.
I mean, I know you've seen the show.
Yes, I have, and I know
okay.
anytime
I know
you disagree. Yes, anytime you disagree with the Tim, you get cut off.
You get cut off. But explain to me. I wanted to get your opinion. I really did want to get your opinion. Explain to me why Eli Manning's not a Hall of Famer.
To me,
or wait. Let me rephrase this. Are you thinking he's not a Hall of Famer or not a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I don't really think he's a Hall of Famer in general because I feel like even with the names that you have said before, like there are people who you said are worse than Eli Manning. And I agree that should not be in the Hall of Fame. There are certain things I feel like with the Hall of Fame, it's like there are certain people, it's like, is this person supposed to be in the Hall of Fame? Yes. Like Aaron Rodgers, he's supposed to be in the Hall of Fame? Yes. Tom Brady? Yes. Like there's certain people that are like that. For me, it's like Eli has had too many iffy seasons, and I personally believe that a lot of his numbers are a lot of counting stats because he's played so many seasons and played so many games in a row.
Right.
So it's like, I never felt like Eli ever had that elite year where he was like, well, no, he's had great seasons, but I don't think that Eli has been to a place of like Can
I say one thing? Because a lot of people harp on, and maybe this might change your mind a little bit. A lot of people harp on his win-loss record, that he's 117 and 117.
Right.
You know who also has 117 wins?
Who?
Joe Montana. You know who has 115? Russell Wilson. You know who has 107 who played forever? Terry Bradshaw. You know who has 102? Warren Moon. You know who has 101? Jim Kelly. You know who has, I mean, we can continue to go down the list of people that are, again, Kenny Stabler, who's in the Hall of Fame, only has 96. Troy Aikman, who also played for a long period of time, only has 94. Len Dawson only has 94. Steve Young, 94. Bart Starr, 94.
Right.
These are all Hall of Fame quarterbacks that Eli Manning has more wins than.
Now, I personally don't believe that it comes down to wins for me. I feel like it comes down to, were you ever elite at that position? Like me personally, I don't know if Eli Manning was consistently ever a top 10 quarterback for like 5 to 10 years of his career. If you are, then I feel like then you can be in the Hall of Fame. Like that's why I look at Aaron Rodgers, unfortunately Tom Brady. But Tom Brady, those people, like those are the elite that I put into, that bracket. I don't know if Eli Manning has put up the consistent numbers for me to be able to say, okay, I'll put him there. And I know this is very controversial to a lot of Giants fans because everybody loves Eli Manning, and I'm the only one that's like, he's great. Like he's had great moments. He's had clutch moments, but he has, in my opinion, he's never been the like the player in the fourth quarter consistently that is like, okay, if things go wrong, we can give him the ball and
Well,
do it.
Eli Manning, for an extended period of time, had the most fourth quarter comebacks multitudes of times in the league. Let me ask you a question. Do you think Kurt Warner belongs in the Hall of Fame? Because he's already in.
I mean, maybe it's debatable. I feel like Deion Sanders even said, the Hall of Fame isn't the Hall of Very Good, it's the Hall of Fame.
Well, Kurt Warner really only had, because people have this nostalgic thing about Kurt Warner. He really only had three really good seasons, which was in '99 where he threw for 4,541. Then he dropped down to 3,400 because of the injuries, and then the next year he threw for 4,800. And then literally from 2002 to 2007, he fell off the map. He never threw for more than 2,700 yards. Then he had 2 seasons in a row where he threw one for 3,400, one for 4,000, one for 3,700.
So that's why, it's like it's debatable to put him in the Hall of Fame. That's why when people say Eli's in the Hall of Fame, I'm like, I can see why, but for me, it's like he hasn't done everything to be there,
James,
what's good, King James?
Talk to Mr. Bruce here, man. On your birthday, talk to Mr.
Happy birthday, man.
Happy birthday,
Oh, it's
James.
good. Yeah. Appreciate that, King. Yo.
Tell us what it's like to be 21, James.
I just got carded at the gas.
Listen, you got carded at wait, your internet's, you tell your girl that she needs new internet. You got carded at the stadium. And then James is like, oh, I can't believe I got carded. And then they go to me, I need to see your ID. And he's probably
got carded in 4 seconds. It's crazy.
James, your internet's all wonky.
It is. Hold on. Let me leave and come right and bring me right back.
Leave and come right back in. So my question is, I need a definitive answer on Kurt Warner. Yes or no Hall of Fame?
I guess I would say no.
Okay. Kenny Stabler, yes or no Hall of Fame?
No.
Troy Aikman, yes, no Hall of Fame?
He's one of the borderlines. So
okay.
I guess if you want to definite by my definition, then no.
Okay. This is kind of what I'm getting at here. Okay. Right. The great Terry Bradshaw. Terry Bradshaw's win-loss record, you're looking at a guy that won 168, and then he didn't win 168. I'm sorry. He won 107. He was at 107 and 51, but he was also on a dynasty.
Right.
And this is a guy that never threw for 4,000 yards. His best season was 3,339 yards, and never threw for more than 28 touchdowns, and had more more interceptions in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in his 17-year career.
Then I guess by my definition, then no, because I'm not sitting here going, yes, he's in it.
But he has 4 Super Bowl rings.
You know, I get.
You, man. I'm going to convince on James's birthday. I'm going to convince you Eli Manning's the Hall of Famer.
Okay, let's go.
I'm not going to let you leave until you are convinced that Eli Manning's the Hall of Famer.
Got you. Hold on, I gotta scoop this up. All right.
I'm gonna ask you a question. This is a better way, James. I'm gonna ask you the same question. I used to do this for Eli Manning people all the time because I always thought it was interesting. If you are a fan of any team, and let's say you draft a quarterback that, and I always take the name out, that is in the top 10 of every single passing category all time, actually is 10 in all-time wins, has 2 Super Bowl rings, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, multiple Pro Bowl appearances, which means nothing to me, has thrown for 4,000 yards between, I believe, 8 or 9 times during a 16-year career, has thrown for over 30 touchdowns 3 times and over 20 touchdowns 11 separate times, and has been through multitudes of regimes and still had these opportunities. If you take out the name Manning, is that person a Hall of Famer?
Don't forget the Iron Man streak, consecutive starts.
I think that the Giants screwed up.
Yes.
Now I'm yelling at you. Now you're 47-42 out of Denver land.
It's like we Die Hard Part 2.
What are you at, Shea? Are you at the old Shea Stadium?
I'm in Valley Stream, so there's a bunch. I live like right by JFK, so there's a bunch of.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay. I figured you had to be needle with water.
So happy birthday, James.
T-Brad, brother, thank you, man. Appreciate that, baby.
You're welcome, brother.
We got
appreciate that, man.
Bruce, we got James on the house though. So Mr. Bruce, if you take out the name Manning after everything that I just told you, would you say that player is a Hall of Fame?
Me personally, I think it comes down to other things other than just that. It comes down to, has that person been, because those numbers to me are counting stats. I feel like when you look at the total passing yards, the total touchdowns, those to me aren't necessarily proving of, he was elite for his whole career. It proves that, he put up numbers throughout, I don't think he put up the numbers that allowed him to become that Hall of Fame player, because those numbers are counting stats. I'm sorry.
But everybody, even if you play that long, some players still don't accumulate those stats. Like, I understand what you're saying.
Hold on, James.
Just like everyone to know, Flight 142 out of Baltimore is now departing, so make sure you're all ready for Flight 142 out of Baltimore. Thank you.
Sorry.
Can I jump in real quick?
Sure. That's why you're here.
Brother Bruce, I see where you're going with your narrative for Hall of Fame. What he's saying is he's looking for an elite player who's that top player every year. He don't want to see inconsistency in your greatness, which I can agree. There has been some inconsistency in his greatness. But on the other side, you still have to look at what Tim is saying, how the bar is set. If these are if you look at NFL quarterbacks getting signed to all this money, Daniel Jones set that bar. And other agents said, if he's getting that, there's no way my client's coming back for less. So the Hall of Fame, it keeps moving. And I understand what Deion's saying is getting watered down some, but if you look back and you say, this dude's in, how am I not in? And Eli Manning, we have to also grade this on something because even though Aaron Rodgers may have all these stats, so on and so forth, he doesn't have greater playoff moments than Eli Manning. Not a
No.
one. Not a one.
have,
And who shows up clutch? Eli.
I have a question though, and this guy is in the Hall of Fame, and I want to ask everyone. I'm going to read some stats, and I want to ask everyone if this guy's a Hall of Famer. He's got 117 wins like Eli Manning does. He has never thrown for more than 28 touchdowns. His highest all-time yardage was only 3,900. He had multiple seasons where he had 15, 19, 17, 8, 18, 2, 13, and 6 total touchdown passes for the year. Has 10,000 yards less than Eli, has 100 less touchdowns than Eli, and this gentleman is in the Hall of Fame. Do these sound like Hall of Fame stats?
Not particularly.
No.
Not when you break it down like that.
It's Joe
Terry
Montana.
Bradshaw? Oh, okay.
No, Joe Montana.
Montana or Montana?
Joe Montana. Joe Montana.
Okay.
True.
Montana.
And we know he's a Hall of Famer.
The Hall of Fame.
Right. So I
But-
guess
Well, he's had much like Eli, and obviously more than Eli, and like T. Brad was saying about Aaron Rodgers, Joe Montana has great playoff moments that people can, call on like that. Like Eli Manning, the 07, David Tyree will forever be remembered. Even his dime to Manningham, is a callback. So Joe, if you have obviously Super Bowls, speak for themselves with Joe, but he has great moments. Eli has great moments. And the thing with Eli that's crazy is just people say, like, I know you said the Pro Bowls don't matter to him, but to some people they do. And he does have 4. And I could say the year in 2011, the year after, and 07 and the year after, those 4 years and probably another one, he was elite. Like, he was in the top of his game. As far as you can even look at him being mentioned with other quarterbacks at that time. His play, his fourth quarter play, I know one year he set the record. It's probably broken now for fourth quarter touchdowns,
And
in a season, and fourth quarter comeback. So, those, when you have those moments where he did what we wish our quarterback now would do, put the team on his back when it needed him the most, in big moments, not just on a Thursday night in Cincinnati. He did it in the Super Bowl, on the road, in the playoffs, So I get it. He's a Manning, and it hasn't looked pretty. That's what it really is. It hasn't looked pretty. He didn't put a pink rose on it, So
Not sexy, but he's got teeth type of thing.
yeah, you know what I'm saying, baby. But
I'll ask you a question too.
I don't know because I'm always
Name me a quarterback. Does Eli have 2 Super Bowl MVPs?
yes.
yes, too.
yes.
Give me a quarterback with those credentials that is not in the Hall of Fame. Name a quarterback with those credentials.
So then, hold on. Can I ask you guys a question?
That goes on the resume too.
So now, guys, I have a question for you guys. Do you think Jim Plunkett should be in the Hall of Fame?
I didn't watch him enough. I'm old enough.
No, because I didn't watch him, but just he didn't carry the team as much as Eli did. He didn't put the team on his back. From what I can see.
Because you got to remember, Jim. People always have this thing with Jim Plunkett. He didn't really start until he was 33 years old with the Raiders, and that was the 80 season when they went 9-2. And then people forget the next year he only was 2. I mean, he was only 2-5, and the next year he was only 8-1. The next year he was 10-3, but then he was 5-1, 1-2, and 3-5. He really only had 2 sandwich seasons where he was anything spectacular, and he was more on a team with the Tom Flores that knew how to win, and actually he was there with Marcus Allen.
Right. So his consistency, longevity. Again, the Iron Man streak is crazy because that would have went on for another year or 2 if we didn't mess that up. So, like that alone in football and in a sport where men are trying to literally or proverbially kill other men, that guy Eli stood in there every Sunday, and we knew we had a chance to win every Sunday because our guy was there. I don't think that gets stated enough.
Yeah, he spoiled us.
Seriously. We had to look at Mike. It's good for us, though, that we had to look at in one season Mike Glennon, Jake Fromm. Then in another season, the OG quarterback and Tyrod. Then the Italian Stallion and Tommy DeVito. Like we've had to go down some levels here on quarterback play since our GOAT left. So he's a Hall of Famer. I don't know first ballot, but he's definitely gonna get in.
I think he'll get in first ballot, depending on who he's up against, because of the Manning name.
Right. That's what I was saying earlier.
Mr. Jackson says the helmet catch was the first football I ever watched. Eli deserves first ballot. Garbage narratives ruin his name. I don't think it's garbage narratives. I think everyone has their thought process, and I think Jabari sitting there, his thought process is, and I agree because I think baseball really falls into this now. It's not the hall of great; it's the hall of really good. And a lot of times with baseball players, it's not the hall of great, it's the hall of longevity. We are never going to see another 300-game winner. So you're going to see guys with barely 200 wins get into the Hall of Fame. Are they not deserving as much as Tom Seaver with his 311 wins? That's kind of where we're at now, because especially in baseball, you see people with the longevity, but you don't see them a lot of times with the longevity in regards to high level of play. It's like Rafael Palmeiro, good guy, except for the steroids, allegedly, but he was consistent, but he was not consistently great. And I think that's what Mr. Bruce is saying about Eli. He's consistent, but for Hall of Fame standards, is he consistently great?
Yeah, that's more so what it is. Like when it comes to the Hall of Fame, I guess I always saw it as like it's you've been consistently elite for your career, and now that these are names that you bring up and the stats that they bring and the stats that they put up, it's like I guess it's debatable if Eli Manning, because Eli Manning is amongst those names, but then it's debatable if those people are in the Hall of Fame. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like the Hall of Fame to me it feels like it's a Hall of Fame, and as you said to everybody else, it feels like the Hall of very good or the Hall of longevity.
This is a good question, and I think it's an interesting question. Does Alex Smith belong in Hall of Fame? This is a guy that's won 99, only lost 67, threw for 35,000 yards and 199 touchdowns and 109 interceptions. My thing is no, because he has no championships associated with those stats. His stats are basically Troy Aikman stats, but he's not in the Hall of Fame. And
I think the biggest thing about Alex Smith, I think moment we can remember is when didn't he blow like a 30-point lead in the playoffs? Wasn't a team that he led? Didn't they blow a lead on the road with playing the Colts? Am I bugging?
I don't know. I'm like, damn. I know somebody did. I was like, damn. Oh, that Chiefs Colts? I think he might be right.
Then he blow that, like, weren't they up like 30, like 28-0 or something crazy? And Andrew Luck brought them all the way back.
Yeah, I don't know if that was him, but that sounds about right. Yeah.
Like he doesn't have, like, even with the stats, like going with the stats, you have to have moments, you have to have plays that stick out, not just like. The biggest thing I could think of for him is that, like a negative. He doesn't have one big postseason moment where I could say, oh yeah, Alex Smith did that. I mean, even Kirk Cousins has the Hail Mary bomb in Minnesota. And let me ask you, what about? Hey, that's a good question. What's Kirk Cousins' stats?
Oh no, we're not doing that.
We're not doing Kirk Cousins. Let's do.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I hear you though. Longevity,
right?
Because hold on, I gotta get to Chill Daddy's comment. I want to get to Mr. Jackson's because I think that's a great question. But Chill Daddy, it's got the question I always ask. Phil Simms, 33,000 yards, 199 touchdowns. When he retired, he was in the top 15 of every NFL passing category. Technically has 2 Super Bowl rings. Everyone forgets he led the Giants to 10-2 before he gave up the Hostetler and he won the 86 season. Also has a Super Bowl MVP, has a Pro Bowl MVP, went to 4 different Pro Bowls, has similar to almost identical stats to Troy Aikman, but he's not in the Hall of Fame. And he's got better stats than Kenny Stabler and more championships.
Missing that second Super Bowl hurt him.
Yeah.
But missing that second Super Bowl hurt him.
But he's hurt.
That's where I was going. Eli has that second Super Bowl, and he is still in the top 10 of all passing categories. But this is this is for Mr. Jackson. I think this is really interesting. I want to get everyone's take. Are we willing to take people out of the Hall of Fame? I'm going to start with Jabari up front there, up top. Are you willing? Do you think we should be willing to take people out of the Hall of Fame?
Maybe. I'm sorry, there's a plane overhead, but maybe. I think that there are certain people. Well, it depends. It depends what we want the Hall of Fame to stand for. If we want the Hall of Fame to stand for the Hall of Fame, then you should. But if you want the Hall of Fame to stand for the Hall of Fame, then, bring in Cam Newton, bring in all these other, people that, I guess like they were great. They had great moments, but I don't think that they had longevity with eliteness behind them. Eliteness, if that's even like the term. But I don't think that they should necessarily take away people unless they want it to mean the Hall of Fame. Because if they don't, then let the people you have in already. But if not, then take some people out.
T-Brad, do you take people out of the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely not, in my opinion, just because certain things you can't control. Like right now, they're playing 17 games. Some people were playing 12 games, and your stats are relative to how many games you played, injuries, things like that, competition level. So you were Hall of Fame because your career is judged based on when you played. So if we were to take people out, shoot, eventually, I wouldn't say the LT would be out, but eventually some Hall of Famers might be out who are legit Hall of Famers right now. Because we go to 19 games or some crap like that in 2045, But in my opinion, you keep them in. I think they should add like some kind of categories for like game changers, because I think Randall Cunningham should be in there just because he was elite to me, because he really played with no great wide receivers. But again, I'm not taking anybody out. I think that's the route we should go. But if we want to do a more elite one to put the Hall of Elite, then maybe we come up with a whole nother thing, like a gold level and a platinum level of the Hall of Fame. Maybe that.
It's like the strip club. You got different levels of the VIPs. James, I'm gonna ask you this question. It's kind of a different question. I don't know what happened to Mr. Bruce. We have seen in college players lose status. Players lose Heisman trophies. Reggie Bush comes to mind. Well, he's got it back now, but they have lost those types of things due to NCAA violations or just just because of things they have done off the field. Should people in the NFL be taken out of the Hall of Fame for things that they have done after they've been inducted? Like Lawrence Taylor,
he'd be gone.
So that's a deep wow. I'm not going to get too deep, but you're kind of touching on the, if I would, it's like in music. All right. Like, okay, right now, somebody that I'm sure a lot of us grew up listening to, I'm not going to say no names, but he just got arrested.
Take that.
We all, that doesn't sound so good now, but we all grew up listening to him, and it's kind of like, if we find out that he was using all that lube for nefarious purposes and baby oil, do we discount his contribution to music? Kind of like with R. Kelly, like I don't listen to R. Kelly anymore.
Yeah, that's why he needs the lube.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of ash in that house. A lot of ash, a lot of crack.
That's terrible.
A lot of ash.
They're gonna get him. He deserves it.
1,000 bottles of baby oil. I'm sorry, I just had to get that out. That is insane. Why do you have that many bottles still in your house?
Yeah,
he didn't recycle one of them. I was telling you.
He didn't get rid of that. You just kept the evidence.
Amazon delivery. He's an Amazon marketer. And that's what his number one product was.
My God. So I say all that to bring us back to the main road on. That's a slippery slope, you know.
You would need some.
It's kind of like like with Joe Paterno, what we saw go down with him, you know. That's wow. I'd have to really think about that because
all right. Well, then
I was gonna. Yeah, go to T. I go for it. That's a deep one right there, man.
T-Brad, do you take people out of the Hall of Fame for things that they do on the off the field that we may deem in society now to be not acceptable?
By far, one of the more difficult questions you've asked.
Seriously.
Far. Yeah,
like
because
ever.
I have to say, like, and it's not NFL, but if Pete Rose can't get in for something, can you kick people out for something? So that throws a real curveball. So if you can't get in for a certain thing, I believe those same things should kick you out. Just Tim threw the question up. So if there are certain things that prevent you from getting in, if you do those same things, they'll put you out.
So you think that should be, some people should be kicked out of the Hall of Fame?
Only if there are rules that keep people out.
But we got to be real then, T-Brad. Lawrence Taylor would be out.
Bye.
He'd be out.
But these rules that are keeping, especially in baseball, that are keeping people out of the Hall of Fame are what they refer to as the sports writers, the unwritten rules. And Pete Rose admitted to betting on baseball, which was a violation of the Major League Baseball, which is a major infraction, and betting on his own games.
But Ben, here's the thing, and I'm not talking about Pete Rose, but I'm talking about like with the NFL and kicking people out. It's cool, but it can start going down a slippery slope. What about, social things? Somebody says something somebody doesn't like. You know what I mean? So it goes down a slippery slope. But again, like you said, like I said earlier, if there's a rule that keeps them out, and you break that rule, then you go out. I don't know where Lawrence Taylor would land, but whether they're in the Hall of Fame or not, it doesn't take away their football greatness. It really doesn't. Like, I watch a Reggie Bush, like, even though they had took the Heisman back, if you watch college football that year, you still knew Reggie Bush was the best player. He just doesn't have the trophy. So, maybe he doesn't get the golden jacket and get to show up to the ceremony anymore because you're no longer good for the brand. But their greatness is still their greatness. It don't mean you suck all of a sudden. It just means you made a couple bad life decisions.
You know what that's more for? It's more for like after we're not here anymore, and then kids in the Jetson future look back and they're looking up college football greats, and it's like, oh, this guy Reggie Bush was great, but they took away his Heisman, and I wonder why they, so I guess how great could he be if they took away his Heisman? We know that because we're living in the era where we're so alive. We saw that live. We have film on that. We remember that live. But going down in the future, people looking back on it, if they can't look in those record books and just say, oh, Reggie Bush, Heisman Trophy winner, yada yada yada, if they see, oh, it was taken away or it's redacted, then they won't really know, unfortunately, because people don't research history the way they.
I'm going to give out a couple names, and I'm going to start with Mr. Bruce on the bottom. If these players who are all-time greats, who are in the Hall of Fame, should be removed from the Hall of Fame for their off-field issues. And Mr. Bruce, I'm going to start with Mr. Bruce on the bottom there. O.J. Simpson.
Yes.
The juice.
Not guilty.
I mean,
remember
that's the thing. He technically was found not guilty.
Not guilty. Wrote a book that basically said he did it, but not guilty.
He was found not guilty in a court of criminal law.
Not in civil, though.
Well, I said criminal.
Okay, but O.J. Simpson.
Wow, this guy's pulling out the bombs on my birthday. Jesus Christ.
Come on, James. O.J. Simpson. Well, no, Mr. Bruce, go ahead. O.J. Simpson, in or out of the Hall of Fame?
I mean, he has to be. I guess he's in it because of his skill, but. Damn, that sucks. That's damn.
He was found not guilty.
I need an answer. Come on, I need an answer.
So I guess yes.
Yes, James. OJ. The
You know
juice.
what? Technically, you got to leave him in. He was found not guilty in the criminal court, so I can't take him out.
Okay. T-Brad. The juice.
Kick him out or keep him in?
Should he be kicked out for what he did off the field?
No.
Okay. Okay. I'm
not guilty. Civil charge. A civil charge doesn't matter to me. Not guilty.
I have another one for Mr. Bruce on the bottom. Ray Lewis.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Damn. I guess. Yeah. Damn. I guess maybe. Damn. But let's go. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And James, Ray Lewis.
I got to take Ray out. Ray, I worked at a school. He actually came and visited with some kids after his whole rehabilitation stint. But I'm sorry, you play pro football and you cocked your wife who was 80 pounds soaking wet in the elevator and she dropped on the floor. I'm sorry.
Not Ray Rice.
That's Ray Rice. All black people don't look alike. You racist.
Oh, Ray Lewis? No, he was found not guilty also. Sorry. No.
T-Brad, Ray Lewis.
Hey, same team, different guy.
Yeah, Ray Lewis was found not guilty. And I'll be honest, I don't know a lot of the details to say like, oh, he got off on a technicality or anything like that. So when someone's not guilty, I got to go by the law of the land. I can't say, well, they tried you, but I think you did it.
Technically, Ray Lewis wasn't really found not guilty. Ray Lewis rolled over on the other people. He took a deal.
Oh,
whatever he did, he wasn't found completely. Whatever he did, it wasn't.
The white suit that he was wearing that night, he actually took off with the knife allegedly, and they rolled it up and put it in a dumpster. His girlfriend, I believe, at the time. But Ray Lewis actually rolled over on the other people. Some of the other people.
Ooh.
If you go by legal hit, so technically, still he's not really charging. I mean,
I was going to say we're going into the nitty gritty of it, but if you look on the top, he was not guilty of that.
Wait a minute. Was he? He's not guilty because he wasn't charged because he was a public. Ooh.
For whatever reason, I'm just saying. Technically,
the street of me is going to say we need to get him up out of there for snitching if he was part of it.
Of course.
The street of me is going to say, you know what? If he was a part of it, you rolled over on everybody else, so you can get up out of there. Nah, he gets you up out that Hall of Fame.
Mr. Bruce's yard stream screwing up. Jabari, I'm glad you were able to come on. We're going to be shutting down in a few minutes anyways, but I do appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we did maybe convince you a little bit about the great Eli Manning and how he should be in the Hall of Fame. I have one last person, Hall of Fame greatness, yes or no? This is a guy that went into the Hall of Fame who already had some issues and some serious issues at the time, and that's going to be Michael Irvin.
Ooh,
Michael Irvin was in 1996 in a hotel room where police found drugs and prostitutes. And so he avoided serious criminal charges after going on trial and received only a 5-game suspension for the NFL for the incident. But he basically he cut a deal. He basically said he did it.
I'm not kicking him out for doing what Charlie Sheen did.
Charlie Sheen never was in.
He was never in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Charlie Sheen. I'm talking about in a room full of drugs and hookers.
Rick Vaughn never made the Hall of Fame.
Oh, he made the Hall of Fame. Trust me, him and Michael Irvin they're in the Hall of Fame. It's just not that Hall of Fame.
Wilt Chamberlain?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They're in the Hall of Fame. There is a hall, or I call it the Wall of Fame. They're in that. But Irvin, I mean,
I'm never going against Trump.
To me, Irvin, Irvin's troubles are more. Like he was never accused. He was never accused of murder or homicide or like certain violent acts. Like he was just kind of destroying himself. So I don't think I'm kicking out Michael Irvin. No.
All right, T-Brad, Michael Irvin.
Wow. Was this crack and prostitution?
Evidently, not like a little bit of crack, like a lot of little bit of crack.
No, he had a lot of crack. He was Nino Brown. He was he was Pookie in it a little bit.
He was he was a little bit of a Pookie, yeah.
Well, I will treat it like we treat the issue that's going on now, the pandemic with the opioids. I'm going to treat it as a disease and say he's a victim of the government for bringing that drug into the community. And I will say, no, he can. Elian can.
Okay.
Yo, let me just say this real quick. It's my birthday. Let me say this. Ain't no black man learn how to turn cocaine into crack. That's all I'm going to say. We were taught that.
Kill
we were taught that.
Tells the whole story. Not Kill the Irishman. That's another story. Very good one, too. But Kill the Messenger shows the whole story of how they brought the drugs in to America, allegedly. I don't want to die. And I'm not suicidal. So.
Yes, please, because they will come and get you.
Oh, no, that's over 25 years ago. That's already leaked out. No one can do anything. We're good.
We're good. Copy.
Congratulations, well past that. Mr. Roberts has got a great question. Do you think guys like Michael Vick, Big Ben, Tariq Hill will make the Hall of Fame because of their off-field stuff?
I wanted to bring up the Michael Vick thing.
Ooh, he won't make it.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask if he didn't have that with the dogs, because that was just crazy. Would he have made the Hall of Fame because of, all his rushing yards and everything? You know what I'm saying? Like that, he definitely would have made it, right? The Big Ben stuff. Go ahead, Tim.
It depends on what his stats would have been from the time that he missed. Because this is a guy that only won 61 games. He did miss two full seasons. And his best season passing was only 3,030 yards and 18 touchdowns.
That's true.
I think Michael Vick would have made it. I think the dogs, there's no way, like, you got to realize where we are as a society of human beings. People care about dogs more than they care about what you do to an animal. But what you do to, like, you could be a woman beater, not to say they're good people, but you can be a woman beater and get in before you beat a dog or do what he did to dogs. That's just where our society is. So, and neither one are good things. But I don't think he would get in, but I do think Ben Roethlisberger will get in because 2 Super Bowls are kind of hard to get around.
2 Super Bowls and multiple rape allegations.
Yeah, he has a lot of stuff on him.
But was he ever found guilty on any of it, or was it just, hey, take this money?
He paid him off. He paid him off.
Deshaun Watson did.
Yeah, so I think he'll get in. I think 2 Super Bowls are hard to push away. They're hard to look the other way on. Steelers Nation, he'll get in. In.
Lynn Swann got in, and I love Lynn Swann, but he didn't have the most impressive stats throughout the season, but he had impressive stats
and highlights.
And highlights. So I mean,
he had those moments that stick out.
To me, is if we talked about taking someone out of the Hall of Fame, now Lynn Swann went in a long time ago. If you literally look at the totality of his career, I would literally say if I was to take someone out, I'd probably take out someone like Lynn Swann, because to Jabari's point, it's not the Hall of Good, because this is a guy that only had 5,462 total yards in 116 games. And he never, what the thing is that kills me about Lynn Swann? How many, just out of curiosity, guys, how many 1,000-yard seasons receiving do you think he's had in his, and I forget how, hold on, let me see how many years. I believe he played in, let's see here, he played in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In 10
years. This is back in the day.
11 years. How many 1,000-yard seasons passing or receiving did he have in 11 years?
Zero.
3.
Oh, wow. Zero. Because they ran the ball all the time, and they had stalwarts on the other side. Like, he's not going to get 1,000 yards.
Oh, that's funny.
Terry Bradshaw wasn't throwing the ball like that. They ran and played. They played their style of football.
But to your point, though, you brought up something. Not that I want to talk about the Steelers. In the same regards, how many 1,000-yard seasons did Stallworth have?
3.
He had 3.
Mm.
So
somebody,
like I said, if you can't put an Eli for his skill level in the playoffs, you got to take out Lynn Swann, because he really had average stats in the season, but he excelled when it counted.
Well, let's also, again, I know it not to be redundant, but if I'm in the top 10, I'm in the top 10. When I retire and I hang up my cleats, I'm in the top 10 in touchdowns, passing yards. I have 2 Super Bowl rings, and I was the MVP in both those games. I mean, I'm not out there throwing ducks all day.
You're in the top 10 of yards, touchdowns, completions, attempts. You are in the top 11 for interceptions, but most of the people above you, the 10 spots, are all in the Hall of Fame, with Brett Favre being number 1 on that list.
Let's kick him out the Hall of Fame too, stealing welfare money.
That's my man too, stealing from old people. And that's my man too, but he's stealing from old people. We can't do that, Brett. We can't do that, baby. We can't do that. Wrangler jeans.
Eli is also in the top 15 in total wins with 117 in league history.
Yeah, like people, because you know what it is? Because he's even, it's 500. I get it. And it's not impressive. Like, we have to remember, I was trying to tell my boy this, like, if you just started watching football when Eli played, you are spoiled. You're spoiled. You have no idea what it really is about when teams are looking for a quarterback, looking for stability, looking for consistency. You're spoiled. You got to see a Hall of Fame, because he will be in eventually a Hall of Fame quarterback right when you started watching. So to go from that to this, I understand why a lot of people have the opinions they do, because you don't know any better. You didn't watch Kent Graham. You didn't watch Danny Cannell. You know, even Kerry Collins, who I like. You know, like, you didn't go through that. Dave Brown, you didn't go through that process. So watching Daniel Jones, you're like, well, he's got to be good because Eli and Peyton said he was good and he went to the. You have no idea. Look at the Jets. You know, this is my birthday. Just turned 42. I'm very blessed and thankful. You know, I have good friends, good family around me, like my good brothers here. Y'all in the chat. My lady over there crunching on some chicken, like nobody can hear her. You know, like, I'm very thankful. And people need to look at life and, like, take a step back. Look at the NFL right now. What's been going on the first 2 weeks? Has there been superb quarterback play? No. Are people throwing for 300, 400 yards? No. You know what's going on? People are playing old school football and throwing and actually getting back to defense and running the ball. The running back has become very important once again. So when you look at a guy like Eli, who played at the time when his brother was still there, Aaron Rodgers was out there, the GOAT was still out there, Big Ben was out there, Phillip Rivers was out there, Drew Brees was out there. And you can actually look at his numbers and he measures up. He's right there in the Kool-Aid in the mix. And he's got a couple 2 pretty ladies he can bring.
I have a question now. And I actually got to head out because I got to help my son with something. I got a question though for both of you with Eli Manning, because this is an interesting comment. Also, Eli really didn't have any issues off the field. Well, if you want to talk about that, there is the whole fake memorabilia issue that Eli had in reference to selling non-authentic game-worn autographed equipment.
That's a drop in the ocean, though, compared to some of the other things we talked about.
I'm being, in all fairness, you know,
the bucket in the ocean.
Well, yeah. I mean, would you rather sell fake, game action gear or hookers and crack? I mean,
okay. Let me tell you something. I'd rather be caught in a hotel room with hookers and crack than be accused of trying to rape some 19-year-old at a bar. Let's keep it real. The hookers are there because I have money and the crack. All right? Let's just keep things in perspective here.
Yeah, hookers and crack are probably a bad decision.
They're a bad decision.
A horrible decision, and you're less of a human because of it. So,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Very, very well said. I'm going to give James the last final thought because I do have to have. I'm going to go help my kid with something for school for tomorrow. So, James, it is your birthday.
Oh, yay.
It's your party, and you can rhyme if you want to.
I got carded, y'all. At 42, I got carded for a Dutch. You believe that, T-Brad? I got carded for a Dutch.
You
Not
enjoy
even a
that.
beer, a Dutch.
Yeah, you enjoy that.
That was hilarious. I was like, women everywhere, suck it.
You don't look a day over 41.
Thank you, man.
But what do you got to say? Come on, man. It's your birthday. Close out.
I just want to say real quick that I appreciate everybody on this channel. You know, I love all of y'all. You know, it's enabled me to enjoy football again, knowing that there's people out here who watch and see the game the way I do, and I love y'all for that. I mean that. And I want to say that I hope we all can get back on the same page one day. But on this day of my birthday, I just want to say our quarterback sucks. He
As
sucks.
does our general manager. As does our
general manager. And I'm going to be real honest. I'm just going to say this. It's probably going to be another 2 to 3 years before we have a team. Appreciate that. 2 to 3 years before we can look at the beginning of the season and go, okay, we're headed in the right direction. At least 2 years. Because this year's a wash. I don't know what's going to happen next year. And I'm going to be honest, if Joe Shane is here picking the quarterback, then we better do what my man said in Master and Commander and hold fast. And that's all I got.
Too.
I like it. And I want to thank everyone for coming in. I want to thank everyone coming in for James's birthday. And as always, this is New York Giants Straight Talk. I want to thank Big Blue. I want to thank T-Brad. I want to thank Big L. Big L wasn't here. I want to thank James Williams. I want to thank Mr. Bruce also for coming in. And you know what, guys? Check it out later. We got some videos coming out. I'm out of here. Peace, everybody.
Peace. All right.